Greetings, everyone. Hello, how are you this afternoon or evening, or it might even be morning where you are? So, this is part two of drawing and sketching and snowy owl. And so, this morning I went over the biology of the owl and all the materials we're going to use. And so, I thought I would break this up into two parts and have this one be the drawing and painting. So I hope you had a chance to get ready. But even if you're not ready, you might want to just watch for fun and then you'll see some of my techniques. And yeah, so we're going to get started. I see a couple people here. And yeah, so I did two different versions. And I'm still working on finishing the shading on my owls, but I did a version on this smooth Bristol board as well as this watercolor paper. So I hope you're excited to get started. So what we're going to do is I've got my video that I'm going to add here. There we go. And I think I'm going to get rid of my, let's see. There we go. Okay, so we are drawing this owl. This is actually already a drawing. It's not a photograph. But we will have a photograph of the owl's face to look at. But still, this is very realistic, and you can use this as a good model for you to finish up. Oh, wait. I don't even know where my microphone is. Oh, that must be better. Can you hear me better now? Phew. I had my microphone hidden behind a pillow. I don't know if you could hear me beforehand, but anyway, we are getting started. So hello, Jackie from Aloha, Oregon. Interesting. Hello, everybody. Yes, wonderful. I had my microphone hidden. It was hidden behind my pillows that helped to make the sound better. So I don't know if I had my microphone hidden on part one or not. Please tell me, those of you who were here before, if you could hear me okay in the first version. And if you couldn't, please feel free to tell me if you can't hear me or see me. So anyway, so hello, Susan and Joey and Jackie. Wonderful. So yeah, we're going to get started. So now that the audio is better, again, welcome to part two of drawing and painting our snowy owl. If you want to go back and watch the biology of the owl and see some more photographs and also a list of all my materials, you can watch that either now or afterwards. And all of those are on my live stream of my YouTube channel, as well as in my feed of my Facebook page. Okay, Joey said part one was good. Okay, I guess I didn't have my microphone hidden. I buy these $150 microphones so that I'll sound okay. Anyway, let's get started. Tell me in the chat box who has gathered their materials for at least drawing, if not painting. Love to know. Okay, lots of people streaming in. Good, because I just sent out a reminder just a moment ago. So anyway, just a quick reminder that the snowy owl lives across the northern hemisphere, from Alaska and Canada all the way to Norway and Russia. And sometimes they come down in the wintertime into the temperate zones, but usually they're a denizen of the tundra, the open tundra. And they are North America's largest and heaviest owl. So yes, we are going to start drawing. Okay. And this video demo is about 32 minutes long, so we won't keep you too long. Okay, let's get started. And I'm going to make that bigger. So yeah, I am just going to first block in where I'm going to put my owl, and I am putting him on the left side of the paper so that there's room on the right side to put the beautiful sky. And actually, this isn't a him, it's a her. So the adult males are pure snow white, like my white shirt I'm wearing. I don't know if anybody noticed that parallel, but the females, as well as the juveniles, have some black markings on them. So anyway, we're just going to get started blocking in the bird on the left side of our paper so we have room to paint on the right, the beautiful sky. There we go. Sorry, my mouse was in the way. So I was just making just some very, very light marks. And so we're going to notice the proportions of the head. It's a little bit smaller than the body and a little bit wider. So it's kind of more of a rectangle. And then the oval of the body, leaving room at the bottom for the tail and the feet and the stump that it is sitting on. They do a lot of time sitting and waiting for prey. Their favorite prey are lemmings. So as usual, I just go over things several times and stay very light and loose, no erasing. You can erase later. Trying to get that head a little bit wider than tall. And I think I do get it wider later on. It's too much of a circle now, but we've got a shoulder and we've got the wing that's sticking out a little bit from the body. And that wing is just about a third of the width of the body. And I am looking back and forth at my reference photo as much as my paper so that I'm sure to try to be accurate. Yeah, and now the other shoulder, and we can see a bit of the bird's left wing hidden behind its belly. And just kind of noticing the head is about half the width of the whole body. We're starting to get some rain finally. Okay, so now I have a line for the body, the belly that's in front of the wing. And then blocking in those legs, they're pretty far back to the left. And we see just a hint of the bird's left leg. And their legs are feathered to keep them warm. Lots of birds don't have feathers, but many hawks and owls and eagles have feathers on their legs, all the way down to the toes. And we see one toe sticking back and two toes sticking forward, just lightly blocking those in first. And then the stump. And they have very strong claws for catching those lemmings. They also like to eat squirrels and hares and voles and moles. And sometimes fish and birds. And you'll see that leg comes up into the belly a bit. And then you'll notice the tail is pretty short and blocky. So as I go, I start going slower and slower and darker and darker. And now we have a close-up of an actual head, so you can see that a bit better. And I'm just going to do a little bit of lightening here. So I can firm up that head. And yeah, it should be a bit wider than tall. First thing I'm going to do is draw a line right down the middle so that I can make sure that I've got a mirror image of the eyes. And then I'm going to block out kind of where the eyes are. And if yours are lower or higher, that's fine. It just means that your bird would be looking up or down. But in my bird, he's kind of looking straight, or she is looking straight forward. So in that line, we're going to add a little bill. And then we're going to make sort of a little V, because we notice that there's some sort of eyebrows that make a V. And then these big circles around the eye, kind of the facial disc, a little bit like a barn owl. They are in the same genus as barn owls. So then we want to draw the eyes, and you want to kind of think about the eyes are going to be approximately 1 eye width in from the edge of the face. And each eye is about 1 eye width from each other. So just kind of noticing how far in the eye is from the edge and from the top of the forehead. And I know it is a little bit challenging to make mirror images like this. Let's see where it is located. And that the inner corner is lower than the outer corner. And there's a big pupil, makes them look really serious. And then I'm going to erase some of those try lines. How we doing so far? So now that we've got that head, I'm going to just firm up again, continuing to look at our proportions. I think my bird is a little bit skinnier than the bird in the drawing. That's okay. Every bird's different. Maybe my bird's on a diet. Maybe it ate too much at Thanksgiving. And I think I'm going to make that wing a little narrower than I had blocked it in before. It's a pretty straight line there. It arches down in front of, sitting on top of the tail. And then just a few half moon shapes for the covert feathers, and then some parallel arched lines for the primary flight feathers. And then the tail, we're actually looking at the underside of the tail. And we see a few of those tail feathers. They don't have to be perfect. A bird can always be moving around their feathers. And then some lines for the belly and front of the tail. And going back to the shoulder. And that is the wing there, the bird's left wing. And just cleaning up a little bit of these lines. This drawing was done on watercolor paper, and I noticed that it was a little bit harder to draw on than my smooth Bristol board. But the watercolor paper makes the watercolor wash of the sky look better. So you can't have it both ways. So just remember that Your drawings are going to look different depending on what kind of paper you're using, what kind of pencils. Now I'm finally going to just lighten up some of those tri lines now that I've got the proportions. I think they're fairly close. Maybe the wing could be a little taller. Okay, how are we doing so far? Tell me in the chat box how you're doing. We're close enough. Now what I want to do is move on to the watercolor. And then once the watercolor background is down, it'll be easier to finish the bird kind of in the right amount, because a white bird on a white background, it's a little bit harder to shade it correctly until you have the colors of the watercolors. But oh yeah, so I am adding just a few more details, just a little bit of shading and some of the barring. But you'll definitely want to go back after you've done your watercolor background to make the bird fit in more. So I'm shading around its facial disc. And on its cheek and its shoulder and under the bill. I chose a drawing as well instead of a photograph, just because it is really easy to see the shadowing, because it is a pretty challenging subject and I don't completely finish it for you. So you can take a screenshot of this and finish it later. But we're just going to get started. And then after we finish that deep watercolor sky and snow, we'll finish our shadowing. One of my rats wants to say hello, but I know we have to keep going here. So I'm just holding her in my lap. Okay, there'll be a little shadow under the wing, under both wings. And yeah, I'm realizing that it's going on kind of blotchy because, again, this is watercolor paper. So you could also decide to just watercolor your bird if you want. I always suggest doing things a few times for practice. Like I said, this was my second one I did, doing one in both smooth Bristol board and watercolor paper. And that wing isn't flat, it's an arc a bit, so there's a little bit of shadow on the edges. And eventually we're going to have a moon on the right side. So again, once you have that sky and moon and snow in there surrounding the bird, it'll be easier to know where to add more highlights and shadows. So I'm just looking around, thinking about what to add. Going to add some of that barring, and you can just put it anywhere you want. Every bird is different. Again, the males are completely snow white, the adult males, but the juveniles and the females have these dots. One moment. Sorry, I had to go get some water. I'm still fighting a cold. Okay, so anyway, that's just the beginning of the shadowing. Now I want to work on the eyes a bit because I feel like if I can get the eyes correct, then it feels more like I can be successful at the rest of the drawing. So they do have a black line around their eyes, and it's a little bit thicker on the bottom. And I'm using an ink pen and I'm leaving a highlight. And your eyes might be bigger or smaller than mine. If the bird is really awake and alert, they'll be nice and open. But if it's resting, they might be sort of half closed. So I always say the more you've observed a bird in the wild or from photographs or YouTube videos, the more you know the variability within a species. And so you know how closely you need to get your drawing to your reference photo or animal you're looking at. Locally, where I live, we have this amazingly beautiful Eurasian eagle owl that's at a rescue center that's so pretty. I believe that's the biggest owl in Eurasia, but this snowy owl is the biggest owl we have in North America. So this shadowing part takes a long time, so we're just going to get started. And if you are available in the chat box, do tell me if you've seen a snowy owl before. They do come down to North America in the wintertime, especially in eruption years, as they call them, when there have been a lot of lemmings in their breeding area and they've bred well. So now I'm going to add some beautiful yellow and gold paint to those eyes. You really want to get those bright and beautiful. That's why I'm using paint straight out of my container. So it's nice and clean and pure. And I'm going to try a little bit of this more orangey gold color too. And there might be a bit of a shadow on the top part of the eye, depending on where the light is coming from. And I'm making those pupils a little bigger and the highlight a little smaller, because this is in the winter time at night. And again, once we get our deep, dark sky, we'll be more clear about where we should add highlights and shadows. Okay, so now we'll go back to the painting. Well, you can go back to the sketching that is later, but I'm going to go on to the watercolor part, which is always fun to watch, whether you're following along or not. And aren't those eyes beautiful? So I've already squeezed out some colors, mainly just different blues. I'm using some different teal and ultramarine and dark gray and a purple. So I like to use those really fresh. But I'm going to get the stump first. And I'm going to be shading it more on the left side than the right since the moon is going to be on the left. And again, just getting the first beginnings and a little shadow under that foot. This is a big, heavy bird, and the bird's body is going to be casting some shadow between those toes as well. And now I got that little icon for the moon there. If you followed me before, I usually always have a little picture for the sun or the moon. So you'll really be thinking about where to add more highlights and shadows. So now comes the fun part. I'm going to wet the paper, and you see how my paper is taped down. So I don't always tape down my paper, but if I'm going to do a full background, especially this kind of wet and wet technique, I'll definitely want to tape it down. And I'm working pretty quickly, but trying to be careful around the edge of the owl. But I'm going to put wet and wet blues and purples and such. So I'm going to wet it first to help the colors blend softly. And ideally, I would have a brush even larger than this. I don't have one handy, but I suggest when you're doing this wet and wet technique, just to try to use the very largest brush you can so it doesn't look streaky. And we're just going to do a really moody, dark bluish, purplish sky. And it doesn't have to be that realistic. There could even be some sort of northern lights colors in the background, because that's where these guys live, in the far north. And I squeezed out some fresh paint so it'll be nice and saturated. And I'm just not thinking about this too much. I'm just gonna dip some colors. And then I forgot I want to make a little line for the snow. So I do want to have the ground. So I'm going to try to avoid that. And so this is just the fun part. And you want to have your paints pretty saturated, because you remember watercolors always dry lighter than they go on. So go big or go home. So I'm starting with some kind of teals, but you do whatever you want. Just, I even had some, I forgot what that color was called. But anyway, just a bunch of different colors. And just the whole idea, though, is to work really fast so they all blend together without drying. And I'm just dipping them in, not being fussy, because I'm going to do a few layers. I'm just being kind of careful around the edge of the owl. And I am trying to be darker at the base and having the top of the sky a bit lighter. And I forgot to leave that snow, so I just lifted it right off. And most watercolors will pretty much lift off if you remove them right away. But that's just a good thing to know about your watercolors when you're playing with them and experimenting with them, that some watercolors are really transparent and lifting. Some are sedimentary, some are staining. And so that just takes, lots of experimenting and playing around with swatches. But most watercolors will lift if you tap them pretty quickly. You see, I'm working pretty quickly. I haven't sped up this video. This is how fast I'm painting just to get it all wet. And I do wish I had a brush that was like twice as large. And I put my moon there. But it's going to look a little streaky, and I'm going to put a few more layers. But especially if you've wet it before, like I have, that really helps to have it not stain too much. But there's no right or wrong way to do this. And I did have a reference photo in this morning's video, but there's lots of pictures of moody, wintry night skies that you could use. You also could have just done one color and had it a gradation from light at the top to darker at the bottom, if you would have mixed up enough paint in the beginning. Now I'm trying to go along the edge of where the skyline would be in the snow. And again, just dipping some colors in. So there's kind of no right or wrong, no reason here, just having fun. This is the holidays. We're just trying to get in our right brain and play. And even if you're using the exact same, colors as I am, again, yours is going to look a lot different depending on whether you have hot or cold press watercolor paper or just mixed media paper or Bristol board. And also the brands of paints and whether you're using them straight from the tube or from a palette that's already been squeezed out. So I'm trying to show some little rolling hills in the background. But they do tend to live on these big flat tundra areas. Really never in the trees. And I'm trying to just soften that edge of the skyline there. And showing a little snow. Now, I let it dry a bit and I added some salt. If you have large salt crystals, those are kind of fun. And then I used a blow dryer. So if you're following along, I might be getting ahead of you. But anyway, this is my favorite stuff here. This Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. It's a super, super opaque white paint. You got to make sure you've mixed it up really well. But I don't want to get my owl having snowflakes on him, at least maybe not yet. I might want to finish the shading. So I just have an extra piece of paper there. I'm dipping this fan brush in, or you could use an old toothbrush, and I'm tapping it on to add some fun snowflakes. And you could have big snowflakes or little snowflakes. Of course, those are going to differ depending on the weather and the temperature. So just have fun with that. But it's just so satisfying to make these. And then I'm going to try doing it with a brush too, just see how that looks. Tap, 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 tap. See, those are bigger snowflakes. Those could also be stars. I would probably do the same technique for stars. We haven't had any snow here yet in Oregon at my elevation in Bend here. We're at 3,500 feet. I can't wait for some snow. Now I'm going to add a moon, add a nice big full moon. And as the moon goes higher and higher in the sky, it looks like relatively smaller. So I just made mine kind of medium. Oops, I made a mess. So I'm just having fun making it a little bit bigger. Happy accidents, as Bob Ross would have said, just make it work. I want you to just focus on the process, not the product. We're just trying to get in our right brains and de-stress and increase our joy and decrease our anxiety. I'm going to add a little bit of a man in the moon here with a little brown gray paint. Oops, and there. Let's see, where am I? There we go. So, yeah, once you get all of your background in, then it'll be a lot easier for you to match the owl to the background. So, I had just gotten started. I didn't get as far as I had wanted to. And also, I think I didn't go any farther with that one because I really didn't like the pencil on the watercolor paper as much as I liked it on this Bristol board paper, which was much smoother and the pencil goes on smoother. So I would have preferred that. So, how are you doing? Tell me in the chat box. I know YouTubers, I think, can chat, and I don't think Facebook chat is working, but I can feel you here if you're on Facebook. So, tell me how you're doing. Now, remember, if you missed the first episode where I went over the biology and anatomy and some basic sketching tips, that was part 1. And I did that this morning at noon. And that's on, lower down on the page on Facebook or farther to the left on YouTube. And you can watch all my live streams on YouTube as well as Facebook for this whole 12 days. Again, this is the 3rd day of my special free fun series called the 12 Days of Draw Paintmas. And so I hope you're having fun. The first day 1 was poinsettias and day 2 was 2 turtle doves. And tomorrow, I think, are hollies we're going to draw and paint. And if you really love birds, you might enjoy joining my Nature Notebook Club, which I've been mentioning a few times lately. And in that club, one of the bonuses for the first 100 members is my coloring book. And this is a great gift you could give to people for Christmas, especially if they're far away or if you don't have time to send something. If you join the Nature Notebook Club, you get to download this PDF of this book that I illustrated that has both the color versions and then the black and white to fill in on your own. And I can put that in the chat box. The link to that, it's christineelder.com/membership. And it's a wonderful program. We've got 70 members now, so we only have spots for 30 more people that get some of those founding member bonuses, including that bird book, as well as a one-on-one coaching call with me. And I have another special offer for those of you who are here. Here's another drawing I did. This is the endemic Cuban pygmy owl, and this is in my book called The Endemic Birds of the West Indies. And this is many of the birds that only live in the Caribbean. And I illustrated this book, and there's one owl in it, but there's a lot of other cool birds, even if you've never planning to go to the Caribbean. There's really beautiful, all kinds of things like the trogon and various hummingbirds and waterfowl and raptors. And if you join and mention this offer, I've got 5 spots for people to join the Nature Notebook Club, where I will actually send you, if you live in the contiguous United States, I will send you this copy of my book. See, there's my bio on the back. So I will send you a hard copy of this book signed. I will sign it for you in the front cover. And that could be a really fun gift that you could give somebody for Christmas or keep it. So that's just my offer for the next 5 people that join the Nature Notebook Club. And so again, that's my program. It's just a monthly membership, so there's no long-term commitment, and you can check it out for a few weeks. And if you aren't satisfied, I'll even give you your first month's back. But this next month, we're doing something really special, January 2026. I like to have a special theme every month. And I've been thinking about how I could honor the life of Jane Goodall, since she was such a big influence on me. And so in January, exclusively inside the Nature Notebook Club, not on YouTube or Facebook, I'm going to have various prompts for your nature journal on related to Jane Goodall's life. And it's called the Live Like Jane or Be Like Jane Nature Journaling Challenge. So that's something exclusively fun we're doing inside there. So anyway, the membership is only $29 a month, but I also have another fun idea. I thought that if people complete all 12 days of my 12 days of Draw Paintmas, and they submit those sketches to me as JPEGs in an email, then I will give you the founding members discounted price of just $22 a month, which you get to keep for as long as you're a member. So, prices are going up so much that this is the best deal on the internet. In fact, yesterday I bought this special masking tape, which you can use to tape down your paintings and not have them rip the paper. This was alone $11. So for just the price of 2 masking tapes, you could get membership in the Nature Notebook Club. So anyway, prices are going through the roof, I know. And so if you have any budget for entertainment or health and wellness in your budget for the month, this is a really great deal. And I have so much fun inside the program, and all my students do too. It's a wonderful community. Well, I'm going to get going because this is the second time I've been live. And for some of you, it's the second time you're here as well. So I hope you keep working on your owl. And I'd love to see it when you're done. And I'd love to see your backgrounds too. I'm sure your backgrounds are going to be really different than mine. And also, once you finish shadowing your owl to kind of match the intensity of the background and make him look like he's an owl at night instead of during the day, I'd love to see those. So you guys pretty much all know how to get a hold of me. Most of you are on my email list, and that's why you're here. Though you can just message me on Facebook or Instagram as well. I'd love to hear from you. So anyway, I'm going to get going, and I'll see you tomorrow. I believe tomorrow is going to be a pre-recorded version at noon. It'll go live at noon because I am traveling tomorrow for the holidays, but I didn't want you to miss one of the 12 days of Draw Paintmas. So put it on your calendar to catch us live. And again, if you want to watch part 1, where you learn more about the biology of the I was going to call him the snowshoe hare. We're doing the snowshoe hare later. The snowy owl. Check that out in an earlier post on Facebook or YouTube. Okay, any questions? The chat is quite quiet. Hopefully it's because you're drawing and painting. Okay, well, I got to get going. Have a wonderful afternoon or evening, or even a morning if you're in Australia or Europe, like some of my students. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.